Hey ho, everybody. How you all doing? Put that model down. It's time to put your eyes on the YouTubes and watch this brand new show here on the channel. And I have got a partner here, Chris Martin. Say hi to the folks, Chris.
Hello.
And the show that we are bringing to you brand new is called, he's going to say it, not me, because I'll screw it up. You all know that. What is it, Chris?
Model Car Genealogy.
Ooh, I like that. I can't say it. I'll screw it up. But boy, he's good at that. Basically, what this show is about, this is for all of you. What is that? What are these people out here? They're just fiending for the styrene kit. The what?
Plasticados in the styrene syndicate.
There you go. Plasticado. Model car plasticados of the styrene syndicate. We got to give that one to our buddy Jim Rogers over at Savino's General Models. That's his little thing, isn't it?
Oh yeah. I hope he doesn't mind if we borrow it for a little bit.
Oh, he doesn't. He'll be on it. Heck, we're probably going to one day talk about some of his kits. But man, I'll tell you, Chris and I have been talking about the show for a long time, and we're pretty excited. It's to be starting to do this, because this is something that's really passionate to both of us. As you guys know, who watch my channel a lot here, is I love going over the history of kits, and I finally have found somebody who's as savant as I am about it, maybe more. If you don't know who Chris Martin is, I did have him on the podcast that I do, my Model Car Hobby podcast, and he has a website called The Sprue that he writes these fantastic articles. Fantastic articles you write, sir, about the kits and the lineage of them. So,
well, why, thank you.
And I tell you, I like his work. I guess he likes mine because he's also one of my producers. And I said, let's do a show together about the lineage of kits, and we'll like pick a particular kit out, and we'll go through where it came from, all things about it, how it changed over the years, parts added, box art, everything about a particular kit. And we're going to, we're just going to do it until we don't do it anymore, I guess. Right. So,
yeah,
Chris,
I think that tends to be how most things go.
Is that pretty much it? Is that pretty much what our plan is? You got anything to add?
No, I don't think so.
Well, I tell you what, let's get started.
You got it pretty well covered.
All righty. Well, good. I'm good. It's a little choppy. It's our first show, so we'll refine it as we go. We honestly kind of, as long as we've been talking about it, we're probably not really prepared, even though we spent hours last night preparing. But let's go ahead and let's show everybody. Let's show everybody the kit that is going to be like the root kit of this whole episode. And here it is.
Drum roll, please.
Drum roll, please. One that hasn't been around for a while. And it's very sought after, isn't it, Chris?
Oh, yeah.
It's a very sought after kit.
Hard to come by. They
go for big money, and honestly, I don't think we're ever going to see this kit again.
PC 1971 Plymouth Roadrunner and its family.
And its family, and we got its family here with us today. And the thing about this kit, it was last seen in the late 80s. It came out in 1987. I remember back in those days, people didn't know as much about classic cars, and they weren't as old as they were. Didn't understand this kit because of the wing and the nose, but then you could build it as a stock 71 Roadrunner. It's a really great kit. I mean, we had the great monogram one, the satellite, the 71 satellite, but this one was so cool. I love its size, being 25th. It just seemed to have the right dimensions, but boy, oh boy, they are hard to find. I finally got a hold of one about 2 years ago, and I've been looking for a couple decades to get a good deal on one. You have one. There's one. It's right over your head there.
Oh, yeah. Imagine that.
Boom. That's what I wanted to do. There it is, right. Forget that. So, man, are you ready for this, Chris? I'm gonna almost let you start and take the lead on this because you're kind of the one that put this together, really did the research. Man, this guy research. I'm lazy. I don't research. He loves the research. I just have my research is just me living through it since 1985 and then asking other people and I'm usually sometimes most of the time probably almost kind of correct but not really. But I think you pretty much nailed it. But let's start off something. I want you to tell the story of you were speaking to someone at the NNL East that kind of got you and I having the conversation about this kit and going, oh man, this is the perfect kit to start the show with. So what was it that that happened there?
Well, I was walking around in the vendor area, and I, had kits that I carrying around that I already bought, and one of them was this guy right here. That actual kit. And
Oh
I ran
man.
into one of my buddies and he was like, "Oh man, that kit's so awesome! I really would like to see them come back out with that." And I said, "Well, it would be great, but I mean, it doesn't really exist anymore." And as it so happened, we were standing beside a vendor that had on his table a bunch of bagged built-up kits, and one of them was one of these 74 GTX kits. And I now I've discovered I was in error when I told him this, but I told my buddy, it's like, yeah, they turned that 71 Roadrunner into the 74 GTX, and that's what the tooling currently exists as, and that's why we'll never see it again. Um, and come to find
Yeah.
out, after I was doing some digging and talking with Luka about it, I was half right.
Yeah.
Those two kits are quite related, but they're not 100% the same, as in the body molds weren't destroyed to create the 74 body style. It was a completely new body, but everything else about it, like the chassis plate, the engine, all the other suspension bits, they are all the exact same in both of those kits. And another kit that might surprise everybody, but when we reveal what that is and the
Mhm.
progression of how we got there, it'll make sense.
That's what's so interesting about this stuff, the genealogy of these kits, how they're connected and how they're changed over the years and evolved. And this one was pretty interesting because the thing that threw us up when we were talking about is, okay, if they came out with the kit, and we might as well pull up this sideshow here. It probably wasn't the first one of some of the other parts, like basically chassis and all that was shared with like the earlier Chargers and all that, and we'll get into that. But this is the first version of that 71 Roadrunner.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure
And
this is the first kit that came out. Um, it might be a little bit difficult to see on this particular picture, but at the bottom next to the
oops,
Roadrunner there, it says copyright 1970 Warner
yeah,
Brothers.
yeah,
So, as tended to be the case, it's a kit of a 71 Roadrunner, but it was released in 1970, which
yeah.
would also explain why the cover car is a wing car, which
Oh
never
yeah,
actually existed. This isn't the first time in this kit family that, sorry, it's the first time, but not the only time in this kit family that MPC kind of went off some old information and created something that, Plymouth never actually did. And they still had spent the money to make the kit, so they released it anyway,
yeah.
even though there was no such thing as a 71 Superbird.
It was a
Oh,
concept.
it was
It was
never,
a concept.
yeah,
Go
like
ahead.
it was never sold to the public, but
No,
didn't
it,
they
it was a
kind of
concept.
sell
It
it
was
then?
going to be because that goes back to NASCAR. There was a plan for it. That's probably why it was tooled up, because they were going to do this, but NASCAR outlawed the wing cars after 1970, so it was like the whole project got junked. So that's
Right.
probably why, as back then the model kit companies worked very close with the auto manufacturers to do promos for them, and that's where a lot of these kits came from. So that's probably was the MPC was in there real early with the engineers at the time. So I said, well, let's just do that kit. The
Yeah.
nice thing is that you don't have to do it that way.
No, you can build this as a stock 71 Roadrunner, the nose cone and the wings, and oh, actually, it's not on this box art, but it also includes the bulges for the front fenders that in a NASCAR would have been for tire clearance.
Oh yeah,
I think
yeah,
the later box art has those on it.
yeah, right
Because,
there. If you can see them, you can kind of see them. They're right there and right there.
yeah, so those have always been in the kit, even though the box art might not depict it, but they've always been there.
Yeah, yep. It's pretty much unchanged. The odd thing that we found, and they did other versions of the 71, a couple of them. It was strange to us that for some reason it popped up in the mid 80s after going through the 70s of what we thought were changes.
Yeah, but as it turns out, the tooling had some modularity designed into it when they first designed it and laid it out. And there's some parts that appeared for a bit, disappeared, other changes to the body, well, most significantly. But yeah, it all started here. This one here has the air grabber hood, and
Yeah,
the engine is a 440. You can build it either as a 4 barrel or a 6 pack, and this particular version was molded in white. The later version was molded in yellow, which I think that's probably part of the era of the problematic plastic where it's going to
where you
bleed
get,
through the paint and
yeah,
the primer. You don't prep it properly.
yeah, that was a tough color, that yellow that NBC had.
Oh, there's going to be
So
tougher colors. Just you wait.
this car though, they not only did the 71 Roadrunner, but they also did the GTX back then.
They did.
Yeah, which is
So,
not a completely different car, but there were several different parts.
yeah. So most notably, which is it's kind of funny because even though so this was released in 1971, well, 70 and 71, and the differences and the options that they chose to do for these two models would be echoed again in the was it late 70s or early 80s when Monogram did the Satellite and then the GTX. They did the same
Yes.
kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
but
Roadrunner had the air grabber hood. The GTX has the I don't know what you call it. I think this is the fish bath hood.
yeah, yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, the fish. What you call it?
Fish bath? Or
Yeah, I
not
think
fish
that
bath. Bird bath.
bird bath. Yeah. Okay, I knew it was something like that. Fish bath.
So the bird bath hood, they added that in for the GTX, and also the way they designed this, that's much different than the later monogram tooling, and is the grill bumper assembly is two-piece. So you have the chrome surround that also includes the headlights, but then the actual grill with the badges on it is a separate piece. So they could make it for the Roadrunner that would have the Roadrunner in the middle, and then the GTX has the GTX emblem. And then later on for the 72, they changed the insert again to make it easier. Now, because this is literally a 1 year only kit, they only ran it for set 1971 to do the GTX. On a scale of 1 to 10, how rare do you think this would be?
9 3/4 to 10.
Right. So as of this recording, I can't verify this, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the interior tub for the GTX and the Roadrunner is probably the exact same, even though the real cars would have different seat patterns, I believe. And the monogram kit that came later would do that too. When they went from
Yeah.
the satellite Roadrunner uh, to the GTX, they changed the seat patterns accordingly. But
Yes, they
I'm
did.
fairly certain that for this kit, they didn't change the interior. So it's just the hood and the grill, and there's probably some badging differences. Finding good pictures of a unassembled, unpainted kit is a little bit difficult, so I can't verify this right now. Most of these that you've come across for pictures um, are ones that are for sale, and they're either built or still sealed.
Yeah.
What's in the box? Who knows? Somebody knows. It's not me.
No,
And probably
I
not you,
have.
right?
No, definitely not. I have never ever seen one in person.
Moving on down the line to the next one. Um, New parts were done again for this one. So they did the Richard Petty 71 Roadrunner. For the body, the only real change was the flat hood. So it's not the air grabber, it's not the bird bath, it's just the flat hood. And do you have one of these?
I have two of these, so I can
So
I
is
can point out quite a few things on it.
so the grill and the insert, I'm assuming those are all they're not chromed, right?
No, they're not chromed. Now, a couple things about this kit. First of all, is honestly it's a little bit incorrect in the fact that for the livery that you see on the box art, that's of the car as it ran in 71. Yet this kit was done because I believe there was a 72 stock one done first. I don't know if you have a picture of that in the
Yes,
slideshow. Do you have that?
I
They came
do.
out with 72. They came out with the 72. There it is, the 72 Roadrunner. This came out about the same time, if not, a little before that Richard Petty kit. So the Richard Petty kit has 72 rear bumper and taillight covers, and they're basically and that
Oh,
both
okay.
the bumpers are done in the blue. They're not chrome tree, and there was these look like riveted on plates that went over the rear tail lights. The front, I believe it was completely retooled bumper and everything. It doesn't have an insert. Everything's molded in to look like a stock car
Oh,
with
okay.
all grading and the blocked out headlights or holes where for airflow to the oil coolers and stuff. So that was changed, and like you said, it had the flat hood, and they put the gas uh, inlet, in the quarter panel, and they put the
Oh yeah,
blanks over
the gas filler, yeah.
yeah, stripped of all any chrome. The marker lights are gone on it. The door handles are gone on it. So it's extensively reworked in a way, I guess. I would have imagined, and if we pull up the timeline, which we could do that real quick, let's look at the timeline, what it says. It 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 probably came out, I would imagine that the Petty car came out after that 72. But later on, when we
Oh,
get into
okay.
this timeline, the thing that gets really strange is what do they do? Let's bring the Petty car back. What do they do as far as doing this Petty car? Because what happens a decade later, we'll get to that.
Right.
But
So
so
it kind of
whether,
makes me wonder
yeah,
if
it's
if
because the one thing about all the MPC stock car kits is they were all the bodies were all based off of streetcar bodies. So they're really not that correct. All they would do is they would add all the typical stuff you'd see on a stock car of the day is the hood pins and the different grills that are basic and just look like screen door stuff, and blanking out the lights and blanking out the door handles and putting the little clips for the windshield and all that stuff, and a hole in the quarter panel. how much of that is changed? I would imagine that they probably. I don't know. Is it is it two different tools? That's the neat thing about about trying to figure that out
Yeah. Well,
because
yeah, it could be that it's an entirely different mold for that body, but
yeah,
then again, they made so many changes to make it into the stock car, but they didn't make all of the changes. Like they didn't
right,
flare out
exactly.
the fenders or the quarter panels.
No,
They didn't adjust the nose length, which so how did this go now? 71 and 72, the nose got extended. Like there was
yeah,
uh some of the races he ran the factory nose length and then it got a little bit longer. Well, if you compare this body or because it this body has the same length as the road going car.
yeah.
And if you compare that with the Salvino's JR kit that came out what was the last year?
It's 2 years
The
ago.
nose
Yeah,
is slightly elongated.
Salvino's is definitely longer, which you can kind of see on this box art of the real because that's the real car there. You can see that the nose is longer on that.
So it could be that this was a separate body mold, but
Yeah, very
they
possibly. Kind of made from the same buck, but yeah, it could be a whole different mold. And again, that comes later. Now it could have been like we said, it could have been made, it could have been modified after they did the 72, because after this, no more. There's no more 71, 72, and we get the 73 or
no,
4. What's it show
no.
on the timeline? We have, yeah, then we get down into the 73, which was a funky looking car.
Around the same time, there was the 72
The
Roadrunner.
70, which it looks
Um,
like that kit had some customizing stuff too added to it.
yeah, so this has all the customizing bits to make the rapid transit system show car,
Yeah.
but also it does have the stock 72 Roadrunner grill insert and the taillight bumper panel. And it has the bird bath hood. I couldn't, like I said, trying to find good pictures of the kit contents of this. I don't know if it has both hoods, if it has the air grabber and the bird bath. I'm gonna say that it's probably only the bird bath hood in this one.
Yeah.
Um, the weird thing about this is there was at least two separate runs done for this kit because I
Oh yeah.
have found pictures of box contents and unbuilt kits and built kits or whatever. Some of them are molded in white and some of them are molded in red.
Oh wow.
So you got to be
Very
careful
interesting.
when you're looking for one of these. Be very wary of buying a sealed kit if you plan to build it.
Yeah.
Don't have your heart set on the light color if you do buy a sealed kit. So for the next jump, we go to the 73 Roadrunner, which on first glance, and I made this mistake too, it
Yeah.
looks like they just changed the body to make the 73. But if you start looking real close at the car, you will see that there is almost no shared body panels between a 71, 72 and a 73 Roadrunner.
And
It's
that
almost completely different.
yeah, and that was something
And
that
it
got our conversation going because we couldn't figure out if they completely retooled it when we went with that theory of retooling the 72 into a 73 and onto the 74, that how in the heck did they ever in 87 in the middle of running the 74 for a long time, then all of a sudden that 71 pops up and then it's gone forever, and then
right.
we started seeing in the 2000s, either, yeah, it was about the 2000s when the hits started coming back out with like the Daisy Duke and all that, and we'll get to all that. You're watching the Luka C channel on YouTube. So that was a really weird thing
Right.
that that you and I had that weird conversation to where we finally pulled the two bodies out and discovered
Yeah.
this had to be a completely retool. So that means that the 71 is still in good shape. We think
Yes.
it never got ruined to be making into the 73, 74.
So, with that being said, for the 73, they did have to tool a completely new body and hood, and then, the grills and the bumpers and everything. But the the chassis, suspension, engine, everything else is a straight carryover from the 71, 72 kit. And that's
We
going to
even
be the thing moving forward.
we even found that the interior tub of the 71 and the 74 kit that I had in my hand, the interior tubs were exactly the same except the back seat detail of the upholstery. That was the only difference. So even that carried over.
Yeah,
They were able to
yeah. So
use the existing tooling for that.
and then the glass is different too, obviously,
The
because
glass
the
was yeah,
greenhouse is completely different.
yeah. The
Because
roof
if
is
you,
completely different. That's the thing. The roof lines, the
yeah,
shape of
but
the windshield is completely different. Plymouth in 73, it went almost a little more notch back. It wasn't as swoopy fast
okay.
back as it was in 71, 72.
So another clue that really heavily suggests that this is contains some recycled tooling is that it's a 73 Roadrunner, but it still has the option to build a 446 pack, which after very, very early 72, Mopar never offered again
No.
due to emissions requirements. There were a couple 372s that squeaked out with the six pack, but after that it was gone. But you could still build it for a 73 Roadrunner here if you got your MPC kit.
There you go.
These kits were all done in collaboration with Plymouth because MPC was also making them promos at the same time.
Yes.
I think we briefly touched on that. So for this next kit, which is the Shirley Muldowney Funny Car, this one actually uses the promo body because the hood is molded in. So
Right.
it's a one-piece body. Um, the hood is molded in, it doesn't open, and I'm pretty sure that only the body is shared with this whole kit family because everything else, it's the modular NPC funny car chassis,
Yeah.
and it has like the interior tin to fit over that, like to mate the body with that chassis, and the grill insert on this is specific to this kit. It's pretty much just flat. There's no detail, and then there's decals to put on it to give you the look. If you look up and try to get your hands on a copy of the, I guess we call him the original kit genealogist. Tim Boyd has a book
Yeah.
where he did drag race models, and so he really goes in depth on this NPC funny car chassis, and you can find out more information about that. And this is just one of the bodies that I mean, they did a lot of their releases for that funny car. They took promo bodies of other kits and tooled up some extra little bits to fit them on that chassis so they could, skimp and save and try to get the most kits to sell with as minimal investing as possible, which is something that you really need to consider when you're looking into the history of a particular model kit family is you really have to look at it from the perspective of the manufacturer as a business and everything that they do for the model kit has to make business sense and they have to be able to get a return on their investment. So being able to share a bunch of parts with a bunch of different kits really saves them a lot of money in the long run. And that's why they did some of the things that they did.
And quite honestly, back then it was marketed as a toy. So there was a different mindset back then. It comes down to this. It's like Shirley Muldowney was incredibly marketable back then. But even with this, they just wanted to get a kit out because she never raced that body style. She raced the
Yeah,
72. the actual car, that all that livery was on a 72 funny car body. So a funny car body that represented a 72 Roadrunner, or probably just a satellite. It's funny when people complain, geez, they're so stupid. It's like, no, it's business. They got to make money. That's first and foremost. Because if they can't make money, then we don't get any kits. And I would rather have the kits than nothing. And that, again, is for another show.
The next one was the 74 Roadrunner customizing kit. I'm pretty sure this is just a straight reissue of the 73. I don't really, other than obviously the bumpers, because in typical MPC annual style, the license plates that were molded in with the bumpers have the model year molded into them. So for
Yes.
every year of these, the 71, 72, 73, up to 74 here, they all had the model year on the bumpers. The grill inserts, because the way this grill is done, there's the chrome surround, and then the two little bits that are black on the grill are separate plastic pieces, much like the original 71 kit had the separate insert. The pattern on these may have been a little bit different, and that's why they molded it that way. I'm not 100% sure on that one. But so instead of it being the off-road version for this release, they added the light bar to make a police version. But like the grill guard and spotlights and mud guards and everything are all the same kind of thing. But you can still build it factory stock, the police version, and looks like a drag car. And again, copyright Warner Brothers, 1973, because in order to use the name Plymouth Roadrunner, Warner Brothers needs to take a little bit of your money, which is why, if anyone was ever wondering, the Salvinos JR release that came out for the two Roadrunners that they did, there does not say Roadrunner anywhere on the box. It's Chrysler Plymouth. Because licensing for those two kits for the Warner Brothers license to be able to use the Roadrunner name, it's a little bit cost prohibitive for a company like Salvino's JR to do, so they didn't do it. So even though for 73 and 74, it's a pretty big change. I mean, they had to tool up an entirely new body. But for the next version, the one-to-one car itself switched almost completely. It was still a B
Oh,
body,
yeah.
but it switched from the satellite line to the Fury, I think it is. So the
Yeah.
Plymouth
Yeah.
Fury
Pretty much.
became the new platform for the 1975 Roadrunner. So this entirely new body was tooled up, sharing still the chassis and engine suspension with the same kit that started in 1970. So this one gets a whole new slew of optional parts, like the skis and ski rack, and it gives you your 1975 Plymouth B body two-door coupe body style. I don't think the interior tub for this one carries over. I think they had to
I don't
do
I don't believe
because
it does.
it's basically going from the satellite to the Fury, so everything else was changed. But and the one thing that they did have to do to the chassis, and I don't know if it's just like a little insert or like a gate that they can open up, but in order to fit this body, which is a little bit longer, they have to put a little extension at the back. And if you look here, you can see the side-by-side comparison of the length of the chassis. So everything else is the same, but there's this little extra little bit added. And then the thing that they had to change, 1975 was the first year for mandated catalytic converters in the exhaust stream. So up until now, the
Yes.
chassis plate has had a molded in dual exhaust. When they made the modification to go for the 75 car, they had to change that to a single exhaust with catalytic converter. And then they also added that little bit of an extension at the back. those of you that know your kits and you are familiar with the Mopar product line of the 70s, now you might see where this is going and what the
Mm-hmm.
Roadrunner kit is related to that you might not initially expect. So, for the second time in this kit family, NPC kind of did a boo boo. Just like for 1971, there was no Superbird. In 1976, there was no Roadrunner. But they still
That's
did a
right.
kit of 1976 Roadrunner. The options for this kit changed quite a bit from the previous issue. Gone were the skis and the ski rack, and instead you get a rump mini bike. And
Yes.
and I think the hood scoop and the side pipes might also be new to this kit. These are really hard to find because the 75 and the 76 were the only years that they did these, and then it got changed again. So the Plymouth Roadrunners were, they were 2 years and then they were done. Um, so I'm not 100% sure on like if all the parts that you see on this box art were also in the previous issue. I mean, the mini bike wasn't, and we know the skis weren't in this one. Um, but still, the chassis plate, the engine, suspension, everything else is the same. That's it carried over. But for 77, it
There
became
you
a
go.
Dodge. The body was slightly retooled to remove um, the Roadrunner badging because there were Roadrunner badges on the body. I think for the 75, they are on the rear quarter panel between the door and the wheel well. So there's a Roadrunner badge there. So
Yeah.
obviously they would have had to take that off. And then they retooled the inserts to be able to give you the stacked headlights and the Dodge pattern. The mini bike stays, um, but the overall body and the interior is a carryover from the Plymouth. And as before, the chassis, engine, everything else is the same as the original. Is the six pack still available in these ones? Like, is that still part of the
I
tree?
I don't recall it. No, I don't think so.
If somebody has some more experience with these kits,
Yeah.
like the 75, 76, and now the 77 onwards, please comment below. And, if we're making mistakes, I know because there's going to be, there might be 5 people that are interested in this. At least one of them is now screaming at us at their TV. No, no, you idiots! It has this, this. Please, we
Exactly.
just,
Yeah. We
we're not going to take it personally. We just want to know. You know,
yeah.
knowing is
We
half the
do we
battle,
don't
right?
between the two of us. I mean, we don't have our hands on every one of these kits. We have to go by memory when we have seen them, or of course, internet, looking at pictures and stuff and speaking to other people who are familiar with them. So that's where this all comes from. So this is also, we're very open to down in the comments to discuss. Don't go slamming us to say you
Yes.
guys are freaking idiots. I We might be, but don't do that because we're just gonna ignore you then.
Yes.
But we really do want to have a conversation with you down in the comments. So please, if you know anything to add more to this, and with that, you're watching this, be sure to read through the comments because I'm sure we're going to get more information in there. So with
Yeah.
that said, carry on, sir.
All right. I shall. So, even though there is no model year listed on this one, this is the 78 Dodge Sport. Lots of customizing parts, and I think the mini bike is gone now, unfortunately. And again, feel free to correct us it because I know at this time period, MPC was really in the habit of during a run of a specific kit, the box art would change, but the kit would be the same. The box art would be mostly the same, but they had a tendency to swap out where it says new. I know of other kits where the new and the model year would swap once and again.
That's
But
interesting.
aside from that, straight carryover from the 77. but like the mini bike is gone. There's the customizing parts, and that really interesting windshield. I'm Obviously
Yeah,
there's
I'll
not two
pass.
bodies in here, so you gotta cut the roof and the A pillars off, and that windshield that's kind of something. The way they've got that designed, I don't think your doors are going to be operable anymore.
Yeah. No. And when I say no, I mean no to that entire concept. I and that mirrored image of the back of the deck or in tail light area, TV panel, I guess you would say that. Oh God, that's horrible. That's just horrible. But I really do like the striping design. So I
Yeah,
imagine that those
that's
decals
pretty
are
cool.
designed to go on if you keep the car normal.
Oh yeah. Well, actually, I think the blue car has the exact same decals on it.
It looks like it, at least the black.
Well, and the next one to come along was your Force
There it is.
440,
It was
which is really,
40R.
really strange to me. I mean, it's a different era, but a two-door police car is just not something that I'm all that familiar with. All the police cars I've ever seen, you know, through my entire childhood have always been four doors. But I guess if it's just a pursuit car, maybe. So this one here saw the addition of some police parts that would end up staying with this kit
Yeah,
till the present day. So you have the totally too deep for a police car steel wheels with the center
which I love
caps,
them.
and then you get the police.
Love those.
Well, they are great wheels, just not
They are awesome,
appropriate
but
for
not right
a
for a
stock.
police car. No,
No. So you
no.
get the police bumper, the light bar, the gun rack with the guns, and there's like a little insert for like a first aid kit and a radio set or whatever. Those police parts are staying with this Dodge lineage for the whole rest of the time. So this
Yep.
is the only issue that they did of a two-door police car, and this was
Which,
for 79, 78 or 79. If we want to
yeah, I
look,
think
take
so.
a
I
look
think
at
78.
79.
I believe this is out of all of them, probably the most sought after one. It's probably the most available one. I see this one pop up more than any of those other ones we have already looked at of the two-door version
Oh,
of this body.
I remember this. It was a little bit before my time, but I did catch it later on the rerun. For those that may not be aware, was the really big TV sensation in the early 80s.
Oh, I heard of that show. I think you're going to be talking about
For 1982, we have The Dukes of Hazzard, which was a beloved TV show to many,
Roscoe
and
Pico Train.
really big money maker for MPC when they got the license to do The Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
wouldn't it just be so lucky, due to the rather large adoption by the law enforcement community of the Dodge Monaco, that Roscoe's car was a Dodge Monaco. And hey, look, we have a kit in our tooling bank of the Dodge Monaco. Just one slight little wrinkle in that. They had to modify the body to make it a four-door. And so this is the state of this tooling that still exists to this day, which is why the two doors from 75 to 78 are hard to find and valuable because the two-door body doesn't exist anymore. So, with that being said, pretty much the only difference between this kit and the Force 440 is the retooled four-door body and obviously the decal package. But all the police parts
Well,
are carryover. Everything else is the exact same.
it pretty much there are other body modifications, but there's something very interesting on this box art. It looks drawn, but it was an actual kit built for box art. That is a modified Force 40 turned into a four-door. Because if you look at the rear deck lid and you look at the shape of the whole back area of it, and you look at the cop car that we ended up getting, it's totally different shape, totally different
Okay.
taillights. The deck lid's different. It's a lot more smoothed out. Yeah, you could really notice on this picture there that was the Force 440 car modified for the box art.
It's not
Yeah.
entirely unheard of for MPC in this period to do that kind of stuff.
No.
But, and as you can see, molded in white. And if you act now, this is a golden opportunity kit. You can collect your
Yes,
golden
and I
tickets
love
from
those golden opportunities. I'm always excited about golden opportunities.
today. So as we will see later on, round two, which is the current custodian of this tooling family, reissued the Dukes of Hazzard version, and the box art. It's the as round two is well known for doing the retro style box art. It's the
Mhm.
exact same, probably with the same
Yep.
errors on the body, but it's no
Yeah.
longer a golden opportunity kit.
Ah, I got one over here too.
So next on the line, another big TV show back in the day was T.J. Hooker, also a golden opportunity kit. This was also in 1982, but obviously this was planned after the Duke's Hazzard kit because this is a built up of the actual what's in the box. Whereas looks like the Dukes of Hazzard box art had to be done before they actually had any test shots of this body to go by. Aside from the decals, this is a straight reissue. I think every issue of the Monaco since the Dukes Hazzard version, everything it's the same stuff in the box. They haven't changed anything at all. And the next release that came out for 1983 is the first real big indication that they share a lot of components with the same as the original Roadrunner. Um, Obviously, both bodies exist and are available to be run because for 1983, the 74 Plymouth GTX came back.
Yep.
Now, this is a straight reissue of the last time we saw the 74. I think the wheels may have changed, like the optional wheels. The the stock Mopar Riley wheels have always been in the kit and are still in it to this day. But the optional wheels, I think, changed to these solid, uh, very 80s style wheel. But still, the engine is the same. You could build it as 446 pack. This configuration here is so this and the police car are the two versions of this tooling that still exist to this day and are still being run by Ram 2. Not 100% sure, but I'm going to say this is probably molded in red.
I believe I did take a look. I remember that box art, and I remember that time, that era, because they also brought back. They called it a Duster, but it was
Okay.
a Dodge Sport, a '75 Dodge Sport, which was in red and very similar to that. That one I had, and it was red.
All right. So, moving along,
And here it came,
1987, the mystery reappearance of the 71 Roadrunner. And even
which
so,
which
to go back
completely
to
threw us
the
off.
right, so to go back to the 74 GTX, the original 74 GTX, or the 74 Roadrunner kit, the chassis plate had the molded in dual exhaust. When this
Yes,
74 was released in 1983, the chassis plate switched over to having the single exhaust with catalytic converter. But then
really.
in 1987, the Roadrunner was released again. They found the body tooling and ran it, and this chassis plate is the dual exhaust. Now, this, if you'll eagle-eyed viewers will notice, this is from 1987, and it's an MPC Ertl branded release. At this point in time, Ertl had purchased the MPC brand and, well, all the tooling as well. And so they were probably going through their inventory and trying to figure out what it was that they had available. Somebody came across this body, and it's like, hey, this hasn't been out in what, 12 years, 13 years? Let's
Yeah,
run
at
this
that
through
point
again.
in time.
And so they
Yeah.
did. Now, through some anecdotal evidence that I have come across, um, at this period of time, once you got to where the MPC brand stopped being its own company and was a subsidiary of another brand, and it switched hands a number of times, things ended up getting mislabeled. Tooling would be put back in crates or back into storage. They might not have the right label on it. Stuff that belongs together, like as we have demonstrated by this point, the basically the guts of this kit. So the chassis, the engine, the interior are separate from the body. So if these got separated and weren't stored together and happen to be mislabeled, this body tooling is missing. No one knows where it is. Oh well, somebody somewhere knows where it is. However,
Hmm.
all of the
It's not
companies
me
that
and it's
own,
not you.
no, it's not either of us. Uh, the various custodians of
Unfortunately.
the NPC brand since then have not been able to find this body. It could potentially still exist somewhere. It's not labeled as 71 Roadrunner, otherwise somebody would have found it by now. The existence of this kit for 1987, having been run after the new body was tooled up for the 73-74 GTX and all the GTX kits that came after, it the existence of this kit is the little bit of a to my noggin that was like
Yeah.
something ain't adding up here. That's got to be a separate tool because it wasn't reworked because there's no way that it would have been financially sensible to modify the body to a 73-74 GTX, modify it back to a 71, and then put it back to a 74 GTX to reissue it again. So it has to be
Now,
separate, complete body toolings.
well,
And
they have to be. They have to be because,
yeah,
like in our investigation, when we compared this body right here from this kit to the 74, which I have one of the more recent, probably within the past 8 years version of the 74, there was no way these two bodies shared anything. They had to completely retool a 73,
yeah,
74. We covered that. And another interesting thing is how there's a little bit of evidence of the 71 in the 74 kit, like the rear wing. Interesting thing about this that kind of just dawned on me, something that I remember, and I can't, my memory cannot be 100% here, but this is a thought. First of all, remember what we talked about when they did the petty kit. So let's go with
yes,
the possibility that when they already were done with the run of doing the street cars, they modified that 72 version. They modified that to be the stock car for the Richard Petty kit. Now here's the thing. There's small modifications, but there's modifications done to the tooling. That would mean they could have possibly retooled. Was it separate? Was it this tool? They retooled in the stock car, but it's small enough that they could they'll always polish them up. They can kind of retool a little bit to bring this car back because they obviously brought it back as a 71. They had the bumper and the tail lights and the
right.
grill insert for the front. So it wouldn't be that difficult to do. But here's the thing. There was this short moment in time, I want to say in the 90s, that they did make an announcement. It was even in the catalog, possibly. I remember seeing this. I could have been dreaming it. So this is another thing we want people, your knowledge, let us know. There was talk about
Yeah,
re-releasing
I've
the
heard this too.
MPC Richard Petty 71 Plymouth. The seven this basically this car here. Now, could that have been something that they were doing it and then they found they were missing things or something happened and they had to pull back and it never was talked about again? That could have completely taken the possibility of this kit ever coming back again. That's something to throw in there.
Yeah,
It's
could
a
be they
high,
were.
It's a theory. It's a theory.
Yeah, they could have
So you
they could have been
remember that?
looking for the. Yeah, please let us know.
Yeah. So
I have I
you
have
recall that
read that
too?
too, though.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Okay.
I
All
don't
right. So
recall in that I was not in my era, but I have read about it. I have come across reference to that as well.
because my thing about it was I had the kit. I wanted to build the Richard Petty car, the 71 version. And it was brought to my attention that kit was going to get re released. So I didn't touch my original and left it alone because of that. And
Yeah.
then it never happened. And I never heard anything after that and kind of went forgotten. And it doesn't matter anymore because if I'm going to build one, I'm going to build a Silvino's JR Models one.
Oh, yeah. As the guys want to do sometimes, I got to fiddling around once we were talking about this. That Superbird nose cone almost fits on the Salvino's body.
Really, really close. Like to the point that I have set them aside to maybe make copies of
Yes.
them for people who want to do that. I had thought about it. It was I actually
Yeah.
had some of our Builders Club friends. That would be a great idea if you did
Yeah.
that. So I did mess with it a little. One never knows.
One never knows. After this weird interlude back to the 71, Ertl also was it either Ertl also purchased AMT or AMT purchased Ertl. But at any
Or
rate,
one or
AMT,
the other, yeah.
MPC, and Ertl were all part of the same company. So for 1989, they reissued the Monaco as the Joker Goon car to tie in with the Batman license that they had at the time. Um, for whatever reason, they dropped the MPC branding, and this is just as an AMT Ertl. But don't be fooled; it's still the same old kit as
It is.
it always has been. Um, and you could build it as a stock street car or as a police car. And this box art is slightly misleading uh, because if you look at the Goon car, those are the wheels that you're going to get in the box. The police car, that's not what the wheels look like. You don't get another set of
No,
wheels. You only get one set, and it's what's on the Goon car. The police car should have much shallower wheels. It took until what was it last year um, when Round Two re-released the '78 Dodge pickup, the long bed pickup. They tooled up a new set of shallow Mopar steel wheels with center caps. So if you want to build an accurate police car with this kit, and if you have one of those Dodge pickups, that's what those wheels look like.
look at that, man. The knowledgeation that we get of model cars here on this show. Oh,
All this stuff is rattling around in
this,
my head, and so now you have to know it too.
yep, absolutely. Our pain is yours. The thing about this kit is I was so happy. I was working at a hobby store at the time when this got announced. I knew it was coming, and I had my Force 40, so I put the brakes on, busting into that kit because it was a sealed on the inside kit, and and
Oh, nice.
I never was collector, but I really I didn't want to open it unless I was gonna build it. I won't open them sometimes when they're even then that was an old, very rare kit back in 1989 when I got it. And when this came out, I was like, I don't need to build that Force 40. And then I eventually sold it like in 91, 92 because I had like a stack of these Joker Goon card things. So I could build all the police cars I wanted that I've never built. Still haven't built. I love this kit. I really do.
Yeah,
Such a good looking car.
it's okay. I'm not
You're not a
the
fan?
biggest fan. Well, not so much because I have this big issue with building what's in the box as a kit. Uh, the only thing that interests me about building this car at this point is that there are 3D printed parts available to make this as a Plymouth. So it has the Plymouth grill inserts, and I think there's interior panels to change the the door cards and the seat upholstery and everything like that. So to build one as a Plymouth, yeah, maybe that would be more my style. But to build it as it came out of the box, does that. Yeah. So for next on our list, also the Batman tooling, but this is a huge gap. And if we look on the timeline from 1989 until this release in 2003, nothing else was released. So there was no Monaco police cars, there were no Plymouth GTXs at all. They were just sitting in a warehouse collecting dust for, what, 24 years?
Mm.
And it took that long for another Batman license to reappear for AMT Ertl, which, as we discussed, it's still the NPC kit, but it was branded at this time as an AMT Ertl. But at least for this box art, it is an accurate representation. Those are the right wheels, but those tires, something ain't right about those tires. They don't match those
Yeah, they look,
wheels.
no. They almost look like motorcycle tires.
Yeah, well, by the looks of those tires, you could fit two of them on the one rim. The rims are that deep.
Yeah. It might be how they cut the picture out too.
Yeah, that's probably. I think it. Well, yeah. At least it says retouched photo of actual model, so they're telling you that this
Oh,
isn't
okay. All
exactly the
right.
same kit.
All right. All right. All right.
Well, but this was the era when AMT, NPC, Ertl were owned by RC2, which was notorious for misrepresenting what you're going to get in the box by the pictures on the box. There's a lot of that going
Yes.
on at this time period. Not with this necessarily with this kit family, but there are some others that may come up in future episodes. Uh,
Yes.
so put a pin in that. So now we see the return of the '74 Plymouth, and this is, like I said, this is the current state of the Plymouth side of the tooling. They did 3 issues of this kit in relatively short succession. I think that was like '06, '07, and '09. Oh, let's look at the timeline. Here we go.
That's, yeah, I'll pull that up. Let's see where we are. Look, we're looking at all that we've covered. You can see how it rolls. And yep, here we go. Oh yeah, I for some reason I thought the Daisy Duke car right here was came out before these red ones, but that was later. They popped that kit out quite a bit. Look at that, all the way to this most recent one, which is 2019. Huh?
So yeah, they used the exact same built-up box art picture for all of these kits. '04, '06, and '07. They just changed the background a little bit. Um, like I said, this is that time period where RC2 was kind of cranking out kits, like just to get as many as they could, because they they had contracts with some um, big box retailers, and they needed to fulfill a large volume of kits to satisfy those contracts. So they were cranking out stuff, everything that they could find, and they just kept on doing different boxes because I think it was that the different stores wanted to have like store specific boxes. So
Oh
that's why
yeah, there
even
were
though
a
it's
couple
like
bucks.
it's the exact same box art, like the built up car, it's the same. I know the checkerboard background, that was definitely
Yeah,
Walmart
this one
specific.
right here. That was,
Yeah.
yes, that was
So that was
yeah,
only
those
at
the
Walmart.
checkerboards.
The
Get it lined up right here. That was a Walmart exclusive right there. That was only at Walmart when they were the checkerboards for whatever reason.
And that's the only one that is branded as only an AMT. So if we look on this one here, it says AMT Erdl. This was the 04 release. We go to the checkerboard and it's only AMT, and this was in 07. And then in 09, we get the nice little city background with the Golden Gate Bridge. The muscle. 1974 Plymouth GTX. AMT Erdl again. But it's the same kit, and it's kind of funny. The decals, the hood decals says GTX 440 6-pack, which was never available in the 74, but one could dream, I guess. And it's
Yeah.
kind of funny, and I don't know if this was intentional that they did the box art this way, but if you were somebody that didn't pay a lot of attention necessarily to models, but you were going through a big box store and you saw this on the shelf, out of the corner of your eye, and you look at this car, and it's like, hey, that looks like the Starsky and Hutch car.
Ha! Oh, yeah. No kidding, huh? It's attractive box art for a really ugly car. I do not like the 73
man,
and 74.
Car's not that ugly. There's plenty uglier cars.
There are uglier cars, but this is probably where you and I are going to disagree when it comes to the subject we're covering today. I would take the four-door Dodge Monaco or Plymouth Fury over ugly puppy here.
Oh, no.
I just can't stand. I can't say where I absolutely probably one of my most favorite Mopars is the 7172 Satellite. I love that car.
Yep.
But when they went to 73, please. Sorry.
So then,
and there we go.
Dukes of Hazzard came back again, and look, it's the exact same box art with the incorrect body. Huh, look at that.
Yep,
so,
it is.
So MPC changed hands again, this time with its current custodian, finally, to round 2, and they got the Dukes of Hazzard license. So for 2009, they re-released both this, and I think for the first time, they did the Roadrunner tied in as Daisy Duke's car.
Yeah, because I don't believe. Yeah, I think this was all new for the first time. Yeah, you're right. First time ever doing that. They did the old MPC in the old days of Dukes of Hazzard didn't do this. They did the Jeep.
Yes, they did. They did her
the
Jeep. They did Cooter's tow truck. They did obviously the General Lee and Roscoe's police car, but they never did Daisy's Roadrunner.
The thing about this is, like, I believe this car showed up in one episode. It might have even been the pilot episode. That's the only time you ever saw it. But she drove a 73 or 74 Roadrunner once in the show. I could be wrong.
Well, it's not unheard of for NBC to do versions of cars from that show that were only in one episode. I seem to remember.
Yeah.
I think it was the 16th scale kit, maybe, of the General Lee. Wasn't there an issue where they did like the glow in the dark body for the ghost of the General Lee?
The ghost of the General Lee. I wondered that because I don't believe it's on the timeline. I think that was a whole separate, because there was also a snap kit generally, and I don't think those are connected to this lineage of car.
Oh no,
of kit.
No, they're not. That's for a future episode.
All right.
So then we go along. A couple years later, the Roadrunner was brought back again. This time, it's branded as a Roadrunner. It's not as a GTX anymore, even though it's the exact same kit. This release was in a tin, and also includes a little Roadrunner figure.
Really?
But other than that, it's a straight re-release. Yeah.
Geez, I want one now. I want the Roadrunner figure. I love that.
Who cares about the car or the metal tin?
Nah, I'll give that thing away. I just want that figure.
So then the Goon car came back again.
Yay!
It also includes a resin Joker figure.
I can pass at that one.
And again, even though this is decades later, you have the two built-up cars on the boxes, the goon car and the police car. The goon car shows you the wheels that you're going to get. The police car
Yeah.
doesn't.
Well, maybe they're using the wheels that they took out of the Dodge pickup that you're talking about to use on
Well,
that
that came after this
box
one.
art car.
Yeah. So now we go back to the Roadrunner out again. This one
Yay!
is the most recent one. Yeah, this one is from 2019. So
That's the
it
prettiest
could.
box art.
Oh yeah, this one might actually still. I would hazard a guess that you would still be able to find this on a hobby store shelf somewhere.
Well, let's
This
look
one
on
would
the
still be
timeline.
available. I think it's from 2019, but it might still be in the catalog. Like some of the other kits I know, they
Yeah,
first released it
2019 it came out.
many years ago, but it's like still in active production. So if you really want to build a 74 Plymouth Roadrunner or GTX, this one is going to be the one that you're going to find. It's going to be the most plentiful. Uh, should be the best price of any of them that you're going to find. I'm sure the one that's in the tin with the Roadrunner, probably commands a bit of a price premium. And
Probably.
even though it really shouldn't,
And
because
this is the
it's
prettiest box.
well, and like the Dukes of Hazzard version probably commands a bit of a price premium, even though it shouldn't, because it's the exact same kit, but because it has that branding, people might ask for some more money for it. I don't know.
Oh, there's a lot of people that specifically collect Dukes of
Yes.
Hazzard.
And so the last one is we have the 1978 Dodge Monaco California Highway
And
Patrol.
there
This is also from 2019. I don't have this one. I know some people that have gotten these, and I know that there was some reference to changed parts for this release. So I think you finally get the correct police car wheels that are shared with the Dodge pickup, and also you get the CHP push bumper. Like I think that was
yeah,
like that
that's cool.
particular design is what they spec for all their cars. So round two tooled that up instead of the one that goes like the full width of the bumper that was in all the other police car kits. And there might be some other CHP specific bit that are all were tooled up to include in this. Like I said, I don't have one, but feel free to let us know in the comments if that's right, if there's more than just the wheels and that push bumper. If I was
Yeah.
going to build one of these Monacos, this would be the one that I would probably want to try to track down.
Yeah,
But
I would
I
like to get that
know
kit,
it's
even though I have a few.
yeah,
This is the first one that they actually do say a 78 Dodge Monaco or a Dodge Monaco. It's the first time that they ever put the year and that it's a Dodge Monaco on any of the police car.
there was some different badging in previous issues. I don't know.
I haven't seen
I
any
haven't had my
evidence of
hands
that.
on any of them, so I can't tell.
Yeah, the oldest ones I have is the first version from 1990 of the Gotham City police car, goon car. I've got 3 of those, and I've got one of the last issue of when they put it out as Roscoe's car. I have thought about
Yeah,
getting this
that's
one because of the new tooled up parts.
I have the same Roscoe car. I think I picked that up when it first came out, and I never really did much with it. But after learning that it shares the same chassis with the Mopar B bodies, going back to the Roadrunner, a really good donor for a more accurate chassis is the AMT 71 Charger. I had a couple of the pre-decorated kits, I think is what they called them, where it's like everything
Mm-hmm.
is painted. You just have to glue everything together. But I had one of those as a built up, so I took it apart and basically took the body off of it, and the chassis from that just fits right up inside this body like it was made for it.
Oh, really? Yes, with that that newer 71 Charger, I have been buying up those anytime I see them at a good deal for these conversions. When I do finally build the 71 satellite or Roadrunner, however I do it, I want to use that chassis and stuff for that, because that's going to look beautiful. So that's something, kind of a little added little thing we threw in there for everyone that really doesn't have to do with the lineage of this kit, but you know, there's
If you want
I
to build
guess a
it
little
better,
bit of
that's what you can
genealogy.
do. Yeah.
But yeah, now just to top it all off before we close out on this, it doesn't show in the timeline so much because we're just specifically just talking about really going back and forth between, it's really the whole Roadrunner line. Does this kit share any pieces to the Chargers, like what we all know with the Dukes of Hazzard Charger and many Chargers from NPC in the past?
Not a thing.
Really?
Completely
So
different,
they are
separate
totally different.
tooling. But that charger is the same, which forecasting a future episode here, but
Yes.
it's
Yes.
similar. The NPC did a similar thing, only the charger starts in 67, and they use
Yep.
the same guts all the way up to the 74 charger. So it's the same underneath, same the chassis plate's the same up to the 74, and then for whatever reason, the 71 to 74 body disappeared. The 69 stuck around as both the, the stock 69 Charger, the Charger 500, the Daytona, and then they, seems to me, don't quote me on this, I'm not 100% sure, and we'll cover it in that episode, but I think the original General Lee release had the flush rear window, so it wasn't accurate
You are
to
correct, sir.
an actual 69 Charger.
So that there, my friends, is for another episode. Well, I tell you what,
Yes, coming up next time.
let's go ahead real quick. I'm going to pull this up and we're going to close this whole thing out. So everybody, we're just going to go down slowly on this timeline up here that just goes to show you where it started in 1970 and what kits came out when and what year. And pretty interesting how kits that we get and how many times they come out over the years, how they're related. And a lot of people don't think about it. A lot of people don't care, but we do. We like the
But for those of you
genealogy.
that are still with us,
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh, I hope you find this very interesting. We do, at least, Chris and I, we find this extremely interesting, and we just thought this would be a fun show to do, for our benefit. And we hope that maybe you 2 or 3 people out there that find this really fascinating also come to enjoy it, because we do quite a bit. And yeah, this has been a lot of fun. I really, really had a good time with this. I want to continue to do this show. This will be fun. And we really want to hear, like,
oh, yeah,
we got
plenty more to
probably
come.
what you say. We got like the next 3 episodes figured out of what we're going to cover. You guys are going to really find a couple of them that we're working on really, really neat. But we really do want to hear from you all what you'd like to see us cover, the whole genealogy of any particular kit that, there's some new kits, which is a real interesting one. We're not going to say right yet, but there are some really cool kits
Yes.
getting repopped by both Round 2 and Revell that have some really cool genealogy. Am I saying that word right? I got to get this down. What's the name of this show?
Little Car Genealogy.
Okay, so I'm saying this right. I'm not Archie bunkering it. Good. The the genealogy of these kits. It's a ton of fun for us. We hope you really like it. You know, pack full of fun, pack full of information. We want to hear from you guys. So, to close this all out, let's discuss down in the comments below. And we hope to hear from you all. Thank you so much for tuning in. And we will see you in the next episode of Model Car Genealogy.